All right, guys, welcome back to the Game Trail Podcast. I got a guest again this week. I got Kolby Hanley from over to Ultraview. Kolby's I would say you become a friend of mine, so I appreciate you jumping on this morning. I got to hit promo real quick, so I missed it last week, so I just want to throw that out there. You guys can use the promo code GameTrail if you want to sign up for a GOHUNT Insider account. If you do that, you're going to get 50 points, which is $50 back in the GOHUNT gear shop that you can use towards the purchase of any gear that you want in the shop. And then also shout out to Matthews Archery. Matthews Archery is a sponsor of the podcast. I always want to make sure I shout those guys out because they, I don't know if they're getting value for their buck, but they are a sponsor of the podcast, and I'm appreciative of those guys. I spent some time talking to those guys this week about tags and upcoming hunting opportunities, and it's always fun to talk to those guys. So I appreciate their support. So I wanted to make sure I covered Matthews as a sponsor. With that, I've got Kolby, like I already said. I'm stoked to talk to Kolby today because we've got a new product that you guys just launched, which I want to talk about. I've got some personal vested interest in this because you guys were kind enough to involve me from the design stage, and I got to test prototypes up through, the final launch of the new button too. So it was really cool. It was fun to be a part of that and offer feedback and just see the whole thing come to fruition. So I appreciate that, but I want to talk the release. The other thing I want to talk about is I just want to talk about how's it going target archery. And so, you got the old target bow. Is that a 40 or 38?
I only rock the 40, dude.
Really? Why?
Oh yeah. I don't know. The string angle. I like a long bow for target.
Have you always been that way?
I have always been that way. Whenever I try a short bow, it never works in my favor.
And you can.
But I'm a big guy. I got a big, not a very big guy, but I have very long arms. I have a 31.25-inch draw length. So. No
way.
Yeah.
You're not. How tall are you? 6'2", maybe?
Sure. We can tell everybody I'm 6'2". I'm 5'11", but I like to tell everybody I'm 6 foot.
Okay. And you just got long arms.
I guess so. Yeah. Monkey arms.
Did you? Yeah. You didn't ever play hoops or anything, huh?
I did a little bit in high school, and then I questioned why I'm chasing this ball back and forth down the court, and then I got involved into archery.
Yeah. I think the older I've gotten, the more I'm like, man, you know what? Archery's pretty cool. I should have pumped all my time and effort into that when I was a kid.
Right.
Yeah. You get to compete with yourself, and then you get to compete kind of individually against other people, which to me is takes a lot of the frustration of being a team member on a team sport.
Yeah, for sure. That was one of the reasons why I liked it.
Yeah.
Well, Trell, I want to say that I'm glad that we both consider each other friends because I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I only say that because I'm a weirdo and I don't have that many friends, to be honest.
I'm in that same bucket as well. So that's why, I guess since the first day we met, we were just kind of like, oh, this trail guy is kind of my people.
Yeah, I felt that way too. That's funny that you say that because I was thinking last night as I was going to have you on today, and there's just people that I generally just from the get-go, and over the years I've kind of taken that with more weight, and I just liked you from the jump, and I take that gut feeling and I'm like, yeah, I like Kolby. I think he's a good dude, genuine guy, and I don't know, I just liked you, so I appreciate
love from first sight. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and you always make me laugh too.
Well, it's funny because I know you want to ask me questions about the button as well, but I want to actually ask you a lot of questions because I know you work with a lot of, my guys, Bruce and Craig, and
sure.
You give feedback to them. And I haven't really heard it actually, we haven't had a conversation about it either. Mm-hmm. So I'm very curious to hear kind of your journey with that product over the last several months and all that as well.
Yeah. Fire away as we get into it. Let's talk about your road to journey to 30X though.
Yeah.
Did you get there? Did you shoot a 30X last year?
I did shoot a 30X. That did happen. Every arrow was recorded on video. Day 60, episode 23, I think, of the series. And then my shoulder
gave out.
Yeah, I'm having shoulder problems, to be quite honest, and I have not shot a lot of bow lately. And I finally got to the point. Actually, last week, I said, this is a problem. I can't even sleep on my right side because I'll wake up and I can't hold anything out in this arm. said I got to get this fixed. I got to be able to shoot a bow. This is seriously affecting my life. So George, my coach here,
Mhm.
uh, that is a archery official. Have you ever met George?
I've never met. Well, actually,
Because
I lie. So I had I had a fanboy moment in Vegas, and I was walking.
okay,
Yes, I was walking through the casino, and he was walking by, and I saw him, and I just was like, I got to just stop him. I think I've told this story before, but I had a mentor at one time that told me, she's like, if you have a compliment to pay to somebody and you like withhold it, like you're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing
mm,
them a disservice.
that's
So
good.
yeah, so even though it might take you to like get your nerve up to talk to somebody that you've never met, but you admire and you like what they do, like just bite the bullet and do it. And so George was walking through the casino, and I just stopped him and I was like, "Hey, George," and I like had a total fanboy moment. But I'm a huge fan of that dude. I think he's awesome.
Nice, nice. Well, he's been he can describe my shoulder pain better than I can because
Right.
he's had it before. And when he described it, I said, "Yes, I need that fixed. What do I do?" And so he connected me with his guy here that helped him like a decade ago. And so I'm very hopeful that this is going to work. I'm going to be doing the correct physical therapy for it because I'm actually aiming to go to the Vegas shoot at the end of March.
Okay.
I'm hoping to go, hoping to have a good time, hoping to shoot semi decent, although I haven't shot since the shoulder thing happened in uh June, July ish
Oh
time
wow,
frame.
been a hot minute.
And yeah, and I've shot a little bit. And, what I did shoot was a reasonable score, but it's just it's a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been
but the
having
30x was a thing.
yeah, I've been having tennis elbow. Like
Left
tendon in my
left arm.
yeah
Yeah,
my bow arm.
I've heard about that before too. Yeah. It's just it's this old age that's creeping up on me.
Yeah. So what did it feel like to finally hit 30x? Like when because I know you were a 30x shooter, you've shot those kind of scores in the past, and I know you kind of made it this goal to shoot another one. Um, how did it feel?
It was great, and if you watch if you watch the episode, I like freak out and run through all of the offices here at Ultraview, just screaming my head off, looking like an idiot, giving everybody high fives.
Yeah.
But it was actually around that same time frame. I wasn't the 30x was really nice. That was the ultimate goal.
Hmm.
But I just know what my pin movement and shot execution and how everything feels when you're shooting that good. And it's so frustrating knowing what that looks and feels like and not being able to do it when you shoot every time because
Hmm.
like you know how good it could be, but to get there you have to shoot like dude, you have to shoot a lot. I only shot I had a score tracker. Like I was tracking every score that I shot over these 60 days. And I only shot like 60 something scored rounds.
Okay.
Now, I shot a lot more arrows, whether it was blank bail or just shooting at a target and not scoring, but I scored pretty frequently. And through that entire process, I only shot like 60 something Vegas rounds. And my advice to anybody that asks, like, oh, like, what should I do to become a really good shooter? Like, and I'm like, shoot 100 scored Vegas rounds, mark your score on day one, mark your score on the 100th round, and I promise you, you will see significant improvement.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot. It does, it sounds like a lot, 100 rounds. It's like, oh, I could do that if I just put my head down and bang it out in a couple months, I'll get it. No, that's several months of shooting all the time to really do that.
Right. Yeah, and it's there's probably a difference between just shooting around because I shoot rounds in my kitchen into my garage. There's a difference between shooting rounds and then trying to shoot around like with intent, with some focus, to like actually try to shoot well. Um,
Sometimes that makes it worse.
for sure, I agree completely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I concur. So when you say shoot a lot of arrows, do you think it's more a product of volume and just becoming more steady, stronger in your shot, or do you think it's like more mental, or do you think it's a combination of both?
Um, I'll answer that two ways. For me, it was definitely more on the physical side
Hmm.
because I had already, I was at the point where I could pick my bow up and already shoot I hadn't shot in years, and I could shoot a respectable score because I had
Hmm.
shot my entire life and, had done that. And so if you're just starting out or trying to get into it, you have to shoot a lot, but it's different because you're trying to find what really works well for you. You're trying to settle it in. You're really trying to tweak a lot of things. For me, I mean, I tweaked very little. The biggest thing was getting my draw length to the right. That took me, and I know what I'm looking for in my draw length because it's been there before and I felt it. And it still took me, I would say, months to really settle in and find that perfect sweet spot.
Hmm.
Um, and so shooting that high volume for me mostly was settling in, building the muscle memory, building the strength. You use a lot of weird muscles when you shoot a bow. And that was, I think, key for me getting to those good scores again.
Hmm.
I also found some days you're just shooting like shit, dude. And you can't figure it out. And it pisses you off. And you shoot one and it just makes you more mad. And those were actually, I think, the mental side of it was figuring out how to turn those days into highly productive, high output, like make something out of this day.
Hmm.
And if I was able to figure that out, I normally ended that day shooting better. And I think you get a lot out of that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can get frustrated and then they stop. And it's like, no, work through that frustration. And because if you're pissed off in the practice range and you can't hit what you want to hit and shoot a good score here because you're getting angry, that's going to happen times 10 in a tournament and you're
Right.
going to fall apart. So,
Hmm. Yeah. When you say perfect draw length and take it you taken months to find it, how are you finding it? Because like I deal with this as well, right? So I will tinker a little bit with my draw length, and I'll go back and forth, maybe lengthen it out, shorten it up, and this is kind of a thought process I'm going through myself currently. But how do you know? I mean, how do you know what it's supposed to feel like? Like, what do you use as a metric for like, yeah, this is
yeah.
it?
So that's actually a fantastic question. Because in that quest on my journey, I realized, okay, I really need to find my right draw line. I had never done this so quick and methodically at one time. Like I'd always just shot a lot and worked over time. And I posed the same question to George because I'm like, I didn't know of a way. Like,
Hmm.
there's all these tips and tricks and
Yep.
secrets. Oh, do this to figure out that. And I didn't know of a way to figure out how do I find the right draw length for me. And I asked George, and he didn't have like a super secret answer. There's a couple things you can do, and I'll walk through it. But it's a key thing I think to realize though in this is there's going to be sweet spot draw lengths for different types of use case.
Right.
So if you're shooting, for example, like this is a good one. In target archery, there's the outer 10 and then the X ring.
Hmm.
And so if you're shooting a tournament where that outer 10 ring carries a lot more weight than the X, like in Vegas, if you miss the 10, you're out.
Yep.
You you would prefer a sight pattern that is slower and more predictable for you. And your groups may be a little bit bigger, but they won't have as many like flyers because of one flyer in Vegas and you're done.
Yep.
Whereas if you're shooting a tournament where only the X ring counts as a 10, like World Archery, like Neem just happened, the X only counts as a 10 there.
Yep.
You could make an argument that you want a tighter like hold pattern that's
Yep.
very tight and on very exacting on the X, but then you may occasionally like pop out but come back in and you may get a flyer 9, but the 10 ring doesn't matter. And so in those scenarios, to have the slow, predictable draw length, you kind of want a slightly longer draw. And then for a tight, exacting draw length, a little shorter draw kind of tightens that up. And the same is true like if you're, running a hunting bow and you're going to go to a total archery challenge, or if you're in a stand and you're only going to make a 20, 30 yard shot, like you can vary all this as you know your use case. And so for me, I was trying to shoot a 30x game,
Hmm.
but I always actually erred on the side of the more slow and predictable.
Hmm.
I would never really loved the like tight but fast,
Yep.
because when I shot my best, it was, and this is I think where Joel Turner's shot IQ stuff comes in as well. I'm not an expert on that, I know
Sure.
Joel and I've gone through it and I know his thing a little bit, but when it is slow and predictable, you can have the conscious like mind. I think he calls it like a open mind loop and not a closed mind loop.
Mhm.
You can consciously know like, oh, okay, like it's slow and predictable. It's out here. Like we're not going off right now. And then it comes back in and they go, okay, we're going off now. And then like you can control that more.
Mhm.
Whereas if it's fast, I feel like you have less control.
Gotcha.
So
Yep.
I was kind of just looking for that slow, predictable,
Mhm.
thing.
So you ended up longer than what you might have expected.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Actually, when I first started, I'm like, George, look at me. And he came in. He's like, dude, your draw length's way too short. At least like a quarter inch. And
Wow.
goes, close to a half inch. I had to let it out. Um, and that's one thing I find as well too. And it happened to me is you start, you'll start short, but then as you build the muscle memory and you settle in and your shoulders, you draw back at first and
Wow.
your shoulders are high. As you kind of settle in and get used to it, you open up. And
Yep.
so I find that people often, if they're starting to shoot again after a long break, a shorter draw length will feel better at first and you should start there, but then be conscious enough to slowly open it up, you know, eighth inch, probably no more than a quarter if you're already really close
Right.
over time.
Yeah, I had Paige Pierce on last week, and this was like kind of one of the questions that I asked her was, I remember talking to Kyle Douglas probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, and talking to his dad. And his dad was like, "Yeah, I've seen Kyle, shoot a 29-30x game, and then take his bow into the shop and completely tear it down and then rebuild it." And his dad was like, "Why did you rebuild that? You just shot some phenomenal scores." And he's like, "It just didn't aim the way I needed it to aim under pressure."
Mm,
So one of the questions I asked Paige, and I asked Kyle as well, is like, what does that mean to build a bow for a pressure situation, right? And I think you kind of answered that. You're building a bow in regards to draw length specifically to deal with the type of activity that you're doing. So if you're shooting a Vegas round, you know that you're trying to build a bow for, the 10 ring versus baby X's. So if you're trying to shoot baby X's, maybe you do think about shortening your draw up and trying to get that real tight aim pattern. Yeah, and as I'm talking, I'm trying to translate this over to like a hunting situation and what that means, right? Because I think there's probably no more pressure than when an animal is in
right.
front of you. Yeah, and you pull into the wall probably a little bit harder. So yeah, that's a good answer, and I appreciate it. And I think it's got my wheels turning, so it makes me want to
One of the
grab my
one
bow
of
and
the
run.
tricks you can do as well is to amplify your hold is to keep all your stabilizers on your bow but remove the weights.
Mm,
And that's actually something I do a lot. It's one of George's like big things. And I actually, in comparison to a lot of the top pro shooters, I don't have close to as much weight on my stabilizers as they do.
sure.
And there's kind of two reasons why. One, I don't I don't shoot nearly as much, and
Mhm.
I just can't handle that type of weight accurately. And two, I really like to have control of the bow, and I
Mhm.
like my input to have an output. And even when I was shooting like my best regularly, I still didn't have the crazy amount of weight that's on the stabilizers because I would do this drill so much with George where I'd take it all off and I'd shoot a full round without any weight and try to get you could shoot some pretty dang good scores because what that it'll amplify any additional or less pressure. If you're doing any torque or if you're doing anything different, the bow is so much more less forgiving.
Mhm.
And the little things like the softness of your palm, you'll realize it's like a Zen art. You'll realize if you take all the weight off, especially if you're shooting a target bow with magnification on your lens,
Mhm.
you can see, oh, I drew up and I didn't quite relax my bow hand enough where this is just soft, supple, and it sinks in and it like absorbs the like vibration and back and forth of the bow.
Yep.
And you can like consciously see, ooh, tight, zigzaggy, soft, nice and calm. And if you can shoot a good round with no weight and kind of line that all up and practice that way, and then kind of slowly add on your weight to your bars while also kind of keeping that front of mind, you'll shoot phenomenally and you don't need a lot of weight on your stabilizers and you'll really hone in things like your bow hand and your draw length and all that because it'll be amplified.
Right. Yeah, that's a good tip. I think even for a hunting setup, I mean, I know a lot of hunting bows, people aren't shooting a ton of weight, but I've always just kind of slapped a bow together, and I've known that, and I don't mean slap, but I mean I've tuned the thing, but I've always shot. I kind of know what I shoot for my hunting bow, which is like 4 to 5 ounces, maybe on the front bar, and maybe 9 or something on the back, and so I'll go straight to it usually, like adding stabilizers and weights and
Mm.
everything. And I've kind of skipped that step of just seeing how the bow aims, without any stabilizers on it, and then just working with draw length to see like where do I land, and then adding weight
Yeah.
progressively. Yeah.
Another thing I think a lot of, I mean, I uh, certainly through like the Total Archery Challenge series and stuff,
Hmm.
um, had a hunting bow in my hand a lot more frequently than a target bow. And I found, I just picked up a bow in the office and set it up and went out. And I'm like, wait a second. I had like 85% mods or something.
Hmm.
And the let off was really high. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They make different mods for this thing. And so
Yep.
I just increased my holding weight and it went, it sucked it right in.
Yep.
Oh, this is so much better. So, one of the things guys could do as well is just increase their holding weight, go with less let off.
Yep.
And yeah, you may have to get used to it. You're holding slightly more at full draw, but you're going to see that you're going to be a lot tighter with your
Yeah.
groups because the bow won't be as loose in your hand because there's more weight in the system.
Yeah. You got something to pull into, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And any input to this is so big, dude. Any input to the shooting string, the
Hmm.
D loop or the shooting string from your face or any additional or less hand torque, if you have a high let off bow, if you're only holding a couple pounds at full draw, it's going to be so easy to add input to that because your shooting string at full draw,
Yeah. No
I mean,
tension.
it's like
What?
it's hardly anything, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why a lot of target bows have low let off is so that when you have a higher tension on your shooting string, you have to put in more input to get more output on anything. So it
Yep.
makes it more forgiving. It makes you more accurate.
Yeah.
And so there's stuff like little things like that. I think people can see some good progress really quickly, just being intentional about how they get their setup.
Yeah, I know. So I've been shooting the 80% let off since they came out with like the switch weight cams, and you could pick between 85 and 80. And then, you get to pick your draw weight on those Matthews bows. And so I shoot a 70-pound bow at an 80% let off. But I know that I was in Vegas maybe a couple weeks ago. We've got a boat, full pro shop now. You can come in, you could buy a Matthews bow or a Hoyt bow, or I think we got Darton as well. But I was looking at all the mods that were hanging on the wall, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm thinking, I was thinking maybe I'll just pick up some extra mods in, some different draw weights just to play with it. And I was thinking about maybe trying a 75 or even a 60 just to shoot some indoor stuff on my hunting bow. But I was really surprised because like pretty much the whole wall is all 85%. And I was asking Cody there, and I was like, "Do you have 80% mods?" And he's like, "Man, I just don't see a ton of demand for them. Like everybody wants
Mm.
that 85% let off. They want that high let off, and I get it in some regard for a hunting situation, because like if you're calling a bull elk and he comes in and you got to draw your bow and he ends up hanging up and he's facing you and you got to be at full draw for a minute and a half, like I totally get that. But I'm with you, like as far as holding weight, it definitely helps me hold more steady than I would otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I get it, it's like a trade-off, right?
Yeah, it is. That's funny because I think on my whole shoulder issue, it
Mm.
happened. I didn't do any one thing where I'm like, oh shit, I just hurt my shoulder,
Yep.
which was confusing for me. And I was hoping that it came out of nowhere and it would disappear out of nowhere. And that's not what's happening. But what I did do is I bumped my draw weight in target archery. World Archery has a poundage limit at 60 pounds. So I always normally just set my target setup at 60 pounds, and then that's just what I shot. So I didn't have to worry about changing weight if I went to, World Archery or NFAA in Vegas.
Yep.
Well, for the first time ever, really, I was going to play around with my draw weight and holding weight with the Matthews mods. And so I got in some 65 and some 70-pound mods with different let offs, and I was going to play with it. Well, I bumped it up 5 pounds, and I had like a couple hundred arrows that day. And then ever since that, the shoulder has been like
Hmm.
bombed. And I think what had happened is I went from like really not shooting much at
Hmm.
all to shooting constantly all the time over several months. And what was happening was building up. And then that was just the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
And, I'm no physical therapist, but what I really think it is just a massive muscle imbalance within this shoulder. And I'm doing nothing to the other muscles that should balance out the ones that have over the last 6 months, like been used a lot by shooting my bow. And so
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's what put it over the top.
Yeah. I was curious. I wanted to ask you. So this 30x, I could tell like through the progression of the series, and it was fun to watch. So I think I told you in Vegas when I saw you last year. I was stoked that you did this, and then that you put it all out there and you did the content because it was a fun follow, right, to watch and go through.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, it was actually really fun, and you're like kind of you're a natural, I would say, behind in front of a camera. Like it was your personality got to come out. It was fun to watch, but. I know 30x, it seemed like it got more meaningful as you went along, and you could see the progression. But I was going to ask you, like, what, and you could say the same thing for a hunting situation, but like, what was going through your head? What's going through your head as you're approaching, like, yeah, I'm going to, like, feasibly, I can shoot this 30x today. Like, as you're approaching those last few arrows.
Well, so it was funny because the day I shot it, I wasn't even planning to shoot my bow that day.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I just happened to be, I wasn't even planning to come in the office. I think it's in the series more documented, but like, I think it was right before my wife and I were about to head out of town. And I randomly came in and I'm like, I don't know, like I got a little bit of time I'm going to shoot. Didn't have a camera. Oh, actually, check this out.
You got a new camera?
So I didn't have my vlog stick on me.
Yeah, right.
So this is my engineered vlog stick, which I'll sell you here in a second. All I had was just my phone, and so I propped my phone up on a target downrange, and I had a laser on my bow because one of the things I wanted to show people was what my holding pattern looked like while also shooting. And so Bruce 3D printed some custom laser jig so that we could like hone in a laser. It was pretty cool. And I'm like, oh, I said, hey, when I come back from vacation, I want to be able to play with this. Mm-hmm. And of course, he did it like overnight and made it look easy. And so I just wanted to play with that laser setup early. And so I strapped it on, started shooting, and I just started filming the laser hole just to show it. And I just kept shooting and shooting and shooting. And I was like, I've been filming this whole round. Like I haven't dropped anything. Mm-hmm. And so I just kept shooting and shooting. And then before I knew it, I had gone like 11 ends clean.
Oh, so you weren't even really like, I mean, you weren't approaching like your 10th end and being like, I'm clean. Like I'm going to.
Well, I knew that I was like getting very close.
Gotcha.
Yes. But I kind of like, I just didn't think about, I really just shut score. I'm like, it's all recorded on my phone. I'm going to go back and see how many I went clean. But, I went trail. I went 5 ends clean and I said, oh, I'm 5 ends clean. Yeah. Oh, I'm 6 ends clean. Like, oh, I haven't dropped an eggs yet. Yep. And so, but that was funny. I think the big thing, but the thing I wasn't necessarily like the 30X was the result, and it sucks because just towards the end of that series is when I really got the bow because I shot that good round. I'm like, sweet, I can kind of check that box. And then it's funny, your comment about Kyle Douglas. I completely I actually got a completely new bow. I got a completely new bow, set it up from scratch, brand new rest, because I knew it could be better, and a completely new arrow setup, everything. And then my scores fucking tanked. Ooh, sorry. Can you bleep on here?
Yeah, you're
and then my scores. Okay. And then my scores tanked. But I then started piecing it together. I'm like, ooh, this is gonna work. And I started working it. And then, dude, I was shooting so good. Like every day I'd come in, I'd shoot a 28 or a 29X game. And it would be just like, oh, dang it. Like, just dropped one. Yep. And then I'm like, okay. And then I'd shoot another like 7, 8 ends clean. And I was at the level where my sight was holding great. My execution was fantastic. And it really felt like it did kind of back in the day when I could shoot a score.
Yeah.
And then the cookie crumbled, and I'm gonna have to probably start over from day one here again after my physical therapist shows me all the shoulder stuff to do.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, my
Yeah.
elbow hanging off the edge of my desk with a 5 pound, 10 pound weight
Yeah.
doing these, for my
Yeah.
tennis elbow. But I get that.
So,
Does it look like you'll be able to make like a good recovery? I mean, in talking
I
to
mean,
people.
I'm sure it's, my dad says easy come, easy go. And
Mm,
it's not like I don't think I like tore or
right.
seriously hurt it. I think I just have an imbalance and I want to make sure that I don't want to make it worse. Like my shoulders are important
Sure.
and I want somebody, I haven't really, I don't know. I want to make sure what I'm doing is right for it. And so with everything I've had going on here at work and everything else going on, it's like I spent a lot. And so it's been on my list. I'm going to get to it. But it's finally gotten to a point where I've craved shooting the bow. I want to start shooting again.
Yep.
Vegas is coming up. I'm like, this is, I can't, I was doing a whole bunch of pull ups. That could have been part of it too. Part of the, did you see that on Instagram? I did a
Yeah.
reel on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't do this at home. This could be a very bad idea. In
Yeah.
fact, maybe it was. I would blank bail 6 arrows and then do like a round of pull ups and then blank bail and then pull ups until I just like was winded and couldn't do it anymore. I was getting really good at that. And I haven't been able to do anything like that since my shoulder's kind of gone out. But
Yeah, man. We did like a New Year's resolution podcast on the Big Hunt guys one of them my New Year's resolution was to like do some strength training because I haven't lifted any weight since I was probably 16. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. But like in the back of my head, and it sounds stupid, but I'm always like, what if that screws up my archery? Like
right.
what if I'm sore, too sore to like shoot? Like that'll piss me off and I can't do that. So it is all
That's
those little side
I used
things.
to go to the gym a lot towards the end of high school and college. I was a gym rat. That was like one of my things. And
Yeah.
I got into it and I did pretty well there for a while, but I found shooting extremely sore and figuring out how to shoot good while also just being extremely sore was helpful.
Okay.
And I shot my best. My best was when I was super fit, healthy, strong, and was
Mhm.
shooting all the time. And I would be so sore, after big like row back day, and
Yeah.
it's just like, or like what you're like just extending your
Yeah.
arms straight is like, oh, you get to full draw, and it's like, oh god.
Yeah.
After your first couple ends, you kind of settle into it, but if
Yeah.
you can figure out how to shoot like that, I mean, you'll be doing pretty good for yourself.
That's a good point. Yeah, good true story. All right, let's talk Ultraview. Let's talk the new button. I've been excited about it. It was fun to see you guys finally launch it and get it out into the world. I guess before we do that, I wanted to run through like you guys bought a bunch of machines, right? So you got some CNC machines in house.
Oh yeah.
How many do you have now?
We have 2 really big ones, and we actually have a third one that's going to be getting here any day now.
Okay, how's that been? Was it
That
pretty
one,
exciting?
it's very exciting. Also, just very stressful as well.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, because it's like Davis and the crew, like you can only plan so much until you actually have to start doing.
Yep.
And there's been so much of this process where it's like, oh, we can plan the best we can, but then we gotta get our boots on the ground and get our hands dirty and get it done.
Hmm.
And we've been in that mode now for months, and everybody around here knows like we're gonna be in that mode for the next year because we're doing this all year long, and we're taking it across our entire product catalog. Everything's gonna be 100% made in America.
Gotcha.
And we have machines coming in. We're specking out more machines. We're doing that whole game. And it's been, I wouldn't really recommend it to anybody that has a weak stomach or, you know,
What
wants any resemblance of work-life balance at all.
What was the most stressful about it? Was it the cost? Was it the logistics of getting it there, or all the above?
All the above. That's a good question. Maybe if I can, let's think about this for a second, because if I
Be
can
your tech,
identify that,
be your
I,
therapist today.
yeah, identifying the stress will help it go away. Um, Lately, it's been, the most stressful part is knowing that there's unknowns, and it's like there can be like, we got a lot of we have a crazy backlog right now, and we've been machining lights out, and we've been making them as fast as we can, but it's like, that spindle stops moving and everything screeches to a halt around here.
Mm-hmm.
The most stressful part is really just the unknown of what ifs, which is not good to spend too much time on. But
Right.
yeah, just making sure I have all my bases covered, and I'm clearing obstacles out of the guys' path so that they can just do what they're good at.
Yeah. Was going in house, American made, kind of always in your roadmap? Was it what you wanted
Yeah,
to do?
so even when I was in my dorm room, my master business plan back in the day, which certainly has changed some since the dorm room. I had always wanted to grow the business, develop all of our products, and then I figured at the one of our later stages of growth would be insourcing all of that within our own building.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that always been a part of the goal, but I think this is happening a lot sooner than I thought, which is like we're pumped about it. Like it's a lot of hard work, but my God, it's a dream for everybody here, and we're very excited about it. Where that like original business plan wasn't correct is it's really as the product gets to scale, you can then insource that because you can't manufacture anything if you don't have scale.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that we're finding right now with these machines is the more volume you have, the more scale you have, the more efficient you can run the machines, the more throughput you can put through them, the more like automation and the more things you're able to do on the manufacturing side so that you can, lower costs, make it more efficient and do that whole thing. Like it's just not feasibly possible if you don't have the scale. And so I had always known step one was get the scale because then and only then are we able to do the manufacturing. And I think what we realized is that we can do, and not only realize, but also just achieve the scale. Because we've been around for a blink of an eye. Button One came out 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And Button One very quickly became like a super popular product. And we very quickly got to a scale where it would make sense for us to insource it. And so we, out of the gate, then started designing the two to be like, okay, what are we doing so that this product is vertically integrated? Because this product is now to scale to be manufactured here.
Gotcha.
And so they then started thinking about the whole process, because you don't have to just design the product. You have to design the machine that makes the products now, because the machine and your work holding and the types of machines that you get and the tools that you need and all of that goes into it. So depending on how you design your product, that'll change how your machining center and manufacturing looks.
Right.
So they kind of all have to be thought about at the same time.
Gotcha.
And unless somebody has done this before, it's very hard to, understand all that is involved.
Yeah,
It's,
a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and so it's very difficult to, and so it's not only you have to design all that, but then it's an investment because then you got to buy all that machinery and equipment on the premise that all of our planning and how we thought this was going to work and how this design is going to be made, like all that is correct and works and is scalable, such that you can make it, a business.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. That was going to be kind of a follow-up question, but you partly answered it, I feel like, is how did you decide? So you got the machines, and it sounds to me like you had in mind that the button and kind of a redesign of the button, a button 2.0 would be kind of the product. Was it like a hard decision to make? Was it an easy decision to make? Like, how did you land on the button? Was it just like, this is the most popular, this makes the most sense? Because I can imagine myself, if I'm like, oh, I'm going to get some CNC machines, like your mind is just all over the place. You're like, oh, I could make that, I could make that, and I could make that.
Yeah. It's true. That's true. Well, I think Button, if you look at the cycle of our products and when we've released them, Button was really the first one that we've released in what I'll consider like the modern day.
Mm-hmm.
Hinge 2 kind of technically, Hinge 2 and Button came out around the same time. And pre-Button, we were really like, we were selling real products. Actually, a lot of them were machined locally, like our scope housings and releases, but they were nothing like what people really learned to become UV. UV Button was our first real like product. And so in this cycle, we then came into the sight category Well, that was like a sprint. And when we worked on slider one for a long time, still couldn't put in everything that we wanted to put into it. But we have, you got to come out with it at some point. You got to launch a product at some point.
Yep.
You can't develop it forever.
Yeah.
So we launched that, and in launching slider one, we already weren't happy with it. And so we kind of continued the design of the product, continued the simplification. How do we, slider one had so much more parts than slider two. Like, how do we simplify, streamline? And not only does that make a better product, but it makes it manufacturing and all that much easier and simpler, because instead of managing 400 parts, you're managing 200 parts.
Right.
And so button one was killer. And then we just went down this race of like site iteration after site iteration, simplify. And then recently we got to the point of like the background work of button two has just now gotten slated to be like, okay, now it's time to order the machines. Now it's time to make it. Now it's time to launch it. And then all of kind of that work I've discussed of designing the product, simplifying, streamlining, deleting unnecessary parts, we're doing all that constantly, while, mind you, also making the product better.
Right.
And so that's a lot of the hard work behind product design engineering. It sounds like a very sexy, illustrious, awesome job. Ooh, like product design. But to be a phenomenal product designer, you have to not only be able to make the product always better, but always keep simplifying and deleting things.
Right.
One of Elon's thing is just like delete until something breaks and then add back the thing that broke because you deleted too much. And so they're doing all of that work feverishly. And we have a lot going on this year. And, we're going to be every month, or if not every quarter, we have, machining centers coming. This next one's cool because it comes with a little robot arm.
Oh, nice.
So we'll have a little robot arm out there throwing parts across the machine center.
Nice. Very cool. Can't
Yeah.
wait to see that. So run me through the button too. How you landed on, and maybe just touch on what changed, why it's different, the thought process behind it, and just give me like maybe a difference between a 1 and a 2.
Yeah. So I grabbed one here, stole it off of Kreger's desk. You'd be happy to know. There we go.
Yeah.
So is the one that you have right now the latest one, or do you have like one of the final prototype ones?
So I have this guy right here, which is the aluminum final.
Okay.
I just got it on launch day. Craig sent that out. I've got this one, which is the first one that you guys ever sent, which was the open hook design. And the barrel's a little bit different. No, barrel's different on this one. So then you guys added, this is the second one that I got, which had the locking portion.
Oh yeah, that barrel is different. I'm glad we updated the barrel from that one. That barrel was that didn't make the cut.
I actually love this barrel.
Really?
I advocated pretty hard.
I was probably going against you on that one.
Yeah, I advocated pretty hard for this barrel. Yeah, I that was some of my feedback that I gave. I was like, because the second one I got, I want to say, yeah, you went back to this one, right? And,
that's my baby right there. Yeah.
I said, hey, I like the barrel, but I really like that original one. I was like, maybe give people the option for both. But yeah, I like that barrel.
Yeah. So the biggest change definitely was the internals, which not just the mechanism with the linkages, but also the adjustment system. We kind of touch on it that, it's a better adjustment system. I don't think, we didn't really hit on how much better this adjustment system is. And so one of the big innovations in UV button is actually that all of these adjustments are isolated to this, we call it the adjustment block. And what's really nice about that is it not only puts all your adjustments in one piece, but we were able to add these locks, and we were able to, on everything from the travel to the force, increase your range so you can get it lighter or heavier. You can set it the travel much longer, or still all the way up to 0 travel. And we're able to put it in this carrier that has the adjustments, it has your locks, and it's fixed in such a way where like those never change. And so figuring that out was key to the design because we wanted to be able to accomplish all that with this new button.
Was that in your guys' realm? Were you guys internally talking about that? Because and the reason I ask is because I'm trying to take credit for it. Because that was one of my first pieces of feedback with this one. When I got this, I remember sending like a big page back to Bruce, right? And I was like, it'd be cool is if you had some locking mechanism so that you could set the travel and the tension.
Yeah.
And not only that, but then you could lock it in.
Yeah.
And then the next version I got, which was this one that had that built into it, I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
I think they listened to me.
Yeah, no. Yeah, definitely. Well, so locking your settings down was a thing we knew a lot of people wanted. I've seen some reviews on YouTube and people were like, "Oh, they must have had issues with your adjustments moving, and so they've added locks." And that really was not a prolific issue.
Right.
Did it happen? Yes, it was we know how it was less than I think 1%. It wasn't really an issue. But I like knowing it's locked down.
Yep.
And when you look at the complexity of this area with all the parts that need to fit in there and all the certain ways so that this thing works, it's kind of a mind puzzle. It's a brain teaser. And being able to go, okay, well, let's isolate all those problems to this adjustment block. And then when it comes to the manufacturing of it as well, there's a lot of simplifications that was a result of too. And then you can add the adjustment block in, and then this thing adjusts everything for you. It's got your spring in there. It's got your set screw to adjust your travel member. And it was a very elegant solution to add not just a wider range of adjustments, but then also be able to throw locks in without having to really complicate the housing design in themselves. So they did a real good job with this adjustment block. Patent pending, by the way.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the adjustments.
I thought that was a good addition because, like I said, I never had any issues. I didn't feel like anyway that I had like any tension or travel issues where I felt like it moved. But I do love the peace of mind that I can set it, work with it, adjust it, get it to where I like it, and then I can lock those in, and I know full stop that I'm not going to get any movement.
A pro tip that I like actually is if you, instead of completely unlocking it loose, so there's no like feedback on your adjustments, I'll only like quarter turn off tight the lock so that you have a good bit of feedback as you twist your adjustments. And that really helps you make just like ultra fine adjustments. And then you can lock it back down and like, oh, I didn't go too far.
Yep.
And so it helps adjusting it as well because it makes it easier to do that.
Yeah. Good tip. I like that.
Yeah.
Tell me what else is different about the one versus the two?
Well, there's have you noticed that the neck is shorter, Trail?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That was a big thing actually, let's talk about, you'll appreciate this because you're a nitty gritty guy. So let's talk about neck length. Button one had a longer neck than most people desired. We personally were fine with it. We didn't have a problem with it. One of the reasons why button one had a longer neck, there's a couple. One, and probably the highest on the list, is if you can eliminate or significantly reduce face contact of the string, you'll find that your left and right grouping tightens up because any variance in face contact opens your groups left and right downrange. And so we knew if we made a longer neck, that would kind of help get the string off the face of a lot of people and tighten their groups, make them more accurate. That's always our goal. How do we help you be more accurate? And so that was one of the things we did. But then, everybody then just makes their draw, like they make their draw length as long as they can and they have the same amount of face contact anyway. So it's like, that was one of the main reasons. Another main reason, and it's a very complex thing to talk about, so people may or may not know this, but the hook on this UV button is a lot more over your middle finger than a lot of traditional releases on the market. And so what happens when you do that is as the hook becomes more over the middle of your fingers, it distributes the weight of drawing your bow more evenly across all three fingers. If this hook is more in between your index or more over your index finger, which is crazy because you're then putting a lot more draw weight on your index finger, it makes it kind of a pain to draw. it will actually, and a lot of releases are thick and they don't have the nice radiuses. It will put like a callus, and I've had some people where they're like, my finger has like nerve damage because it eats it away. And so the hook being more over your middle finger just makes it much easier, much more comfortable, much more consistent to draw your bow with the release. And this hook has a tail on it.
Yep.
That tail sits only like 5 thousandths or so of an inch above the bottom of this, radius that your middle finger goes into. And so as we move the hook and therefore making the neck length shorter down, this tail gets closer to your finger, your middle finger. So the radius of your middle finger hole gets much smaller.
Okay.
So if we make the neck too short, that doesn't really fit over your middle finger, and it actually has to shift more in between your index and middle finger. And it's going to throw the weight distribution off. It's not going to feel as comfortable in your hand. It's going to be a pain in the butt to draw. It's just not, button has a great feel to it. That's one of the secret sauces behind the feel is the weight distribution. And so it's a balancing act, really, because we want that hook as much over your middle finger as possible, but that hole also needs to be big enough for people to put their fingers in. And a lot of guys like to hold it like this, so it's kind of got to fit with their knuckle in there as well. And so that's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff with the neck length that not a lot of people probably know about, but all that goes into designing and optimizing, this release. And so the neck is shorter. People are very happy to hear that. How much shorter? About 20%. How much does that relate to? Just under a quarter inch difference. So, call it a quarter inch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Where do you land? Do you like the length of the neck being shortened out? Do you kind of
I'm indifferent because I'm still gonna set the string on my face, kind of just barely touching the tip of my nose.
Yep.
If the people are happy, Trail,
No,
Colby's happy.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I know the new releases have got some grooves kind of built into the middle portion of it.
Yep.
Was that something that like feedback that you got from customers? Was it internally you guys liked, or is it something that you like just to get like a little bit more bite into it?
Yeah, I mean, so that wasn't. It was something we thought we could add, give you some feedback. We like. It's a balancing act there. Once again, we like a certain amount of feedback on feeling the thing in your hand, whether it's the grip or the release. Those are the two areas you touch your bow.
Yep.
And we're very particular about each of those areas. And so on the B-Rail grip, it actually has intentionally, it's not sharp, but a very distinct corner and a flat face so that when you go to put it in your hand, you can feel that. Because if it's a full rounded radius like dowel, you have no gauge as to, am I putting my hand in it the same every time? And so in a similar sense, you shouldn't need a bunch of aggressive texturing on a release. If you're holding it correctly in your hand, even if it's a downpour out, like it shouldn't slip out of your hand. And so it's really there so that you can kind of make sure that you get more tactile feedback when you're putting your fingers in it. And that's just going to help for repeatability. It's going to help you put your hand in the release the same every time.
Yeah.
And so we actually, the one I'm holding here is a prototype of 4 grooves. And we actually found that as that groove got close to the edge, kind of where that radius is, if you shoot a lot of arrows, it kind of ate into your finger a little bit, and it wasn't the most comfortable. And so then we just went down to, on the body, we went to 2 grooves in the middle, which still accomplished what we were looking for, but it didn't kind of interfere with that radius and the comfort.
Yeah.
The third finger actually still has 4 grooves. So if you look at the third finger, it has 4 grooves. And that's because you don't have as much weight on that finger. And a lot of people will get timid with their third finger. And so if any finger that you want to have like really good engagement on, it's that third finger.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's me. Timid in my third finger. Absolutely. Like I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's not going off. And it's like, yeah, because you're being real timid with that shot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
actually didn't even notice. I'm looking at the two different ones that I've got, and this must be a proto too because I've still got the four finger
The
grooves.
forkers.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm looking at the new one here, and it does look like you shrunk it down to two in that first finger, which is interesting.
yeah.
Gotcha. What does your release feel like to you in your hand as far as like pressure across your three fingers when you're shooting it and shooting it well? Do you feel like you have the most pressure? Is it even across your three fingers, or do you feel like it's
Uh,
still mostly in your first and your bird?
it's definitely, I definitely have lighter pressure on my third finger.
Hmm.
It's definitely more on my index and middle finger. I mean, I've always just an analogy that George uses actually, which I just repeat what I know, and I learned everything I know from George. So
Right.
all credit goes to George. Is if you're holding a 5 gallon bucket, you know how they have that
Hmm.
some of them have that thin handle. Well, pretend you're holding a 5 gallon bucket of water, and just kind of like relax your hand down and relax your wrist, and then kind of 90-degree your knuckles and let it kind of hang there.
Hmm.
Like that's how you want to put your hand into your release, and you want to keep that. A lot of guys will sometimes bunch up their wrist, or they'll like go one way or the other. Like some guys pulling way too much weight, they'll draw their bow back like this,
Yep.
and like it's angled like the
Hmm.
opposite way. Well, it's like pretend you're holding a 5 gallon bucket of water, have a nice straight wrist, 90-degree those knuckles, nice and relaxed. That's how it should be in your hand. And then that's how you want it to draw back. It should feel very natural. You should not try to bias it in any one crazy direction because that'll
Hmm.
induce inconsistencies. The only bias that I'd say is needed to be had is you do bias it in the sense of when you get back here, you want to be able to build pressure
Hmm.
into your button. Slowly build pressure into your button until it pops. So you kind of want to be able to relax this. And as you relax your hand and wrist, what that does is that pulls the thumb into the pad more.
Yep.
So as you relax, it eventually pops. And so that's how George teaches how to shoot a button.
Gotcha.
That's how I shoot it. If you watch Chris, that's how Chris shoots it.
Yep.
Or if you want to grip it and rip it, you can just grip it, rip it, and smash down on this thing. You can do that too if you want
Just
to.
smash the hell out of that button.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, we talked the length of the shank being shorter, locking mechanism. Internally, like I've heard like kind of your guys' media that I've seen. It sounds like you've done some different parts and pieces maybe on the inside, or maybe just some different hardening.
Yeah, so we are using a different material and a different hardness.
Okay.
We like this way because it's blackout.
Hmm.
And so it's a certain type of hardness coating that turns, they're actually silver parts when we're cutting them. They turn black when we get them hardened. We tested, I know they were very seriously looking at least two or three different coatings. I don't know how many they actually looked at, but we really, really liked this one. We have a cycle tester here. You can kind of see it in our launch film where Robert you bolt a button in and it just like actuates, and it,
Yep.
it actually loads it. I think it loads it to 100 pounds, and then it backs down and it fires it under a significant load too. I want to say like 40 something pounds. So it's like, it's over amplifying the use case.
Right.
And we just let that sucker run. And we have buttons, we have dozens of buttons here with hundreds of thousands of cycles through them. And we found that just over time, like I actually want to go grab one of those and set it up and use it as mine because it's like broken in and already buttery smooth. And
Right.
God, ooh, they just feel so good, dude. Like they feel so good.
Yeah.
And so we tested all these different materials and coatings, and this was the one that like we found stand the best of time, the best. It's a simple coating. There's a vendor that we use. It's 15 minutes down the road, so we can drop off parts, pick them up. It's black, which we like better than the silver.
Gotcha.
The internals, to simplify, delete, make this a more simple product so it's more reliable and all that. They did simplify the inside a lot more. It works the same, the cocking and firing, and
Hmm.
there's a magnet that still kind of holds your hook back to reset it. All that's still in there. They were just able to simplify it more.
Gotcha.
which is
So
of course nice.
yeah, a lot of that benefit you'll never see because it's in the guts of the release. But reality is you'll have a more durable release that'll last longer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
I was thinking as you
We
were
have
talking.
the
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the hunting like lanyard loop as well is more in the
Ah,
middle of the release. It used to kind of be in your third finger,
yep,
and we weren't ever pumped about that. Solved the problem, but we always kind of want it in the middle.
yep. Yeah, I didn't even clock that, but you're right. It is. And then you've got your adjustment as far as the location of your thumb barrel. You can lengthen that out and sweep it forward or back.
Yeah.
I've seen.
Another thing
Go ahead.
we did there, an issue we did have was on the button one, you could set your button to a point where it would actually touch the back of your button.
Hmm.
So like it would never set when you go to like cock it because the button was forced against the housing, so it was already in the fired state
Yep.
because they tried to move the thumb knob too close, and I guess they didn't realize that it was touching the body.
Gotcha.
And so they have it set up now so where you can't set it in a position where it just won't work.
Gotcha.
And you can see they kind of have like a limit bar there, which is really nice. It's like you'd probably realize it when you moved your old button and you set it, and it's like, oh, why isn't this setting? And if you looked at, oh, the knob is touching the button, and you just change it a little bit and you fix it.
Yeah.
It's just a real nice convenience now that you just don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So you're making them in two different. So you've got brass. So you're making brass,
Yeah,
and you've got brass and aluminum, and then you've
brass
got
and aluminum.
two different sizes.
We have now a standard
Yeah.
and an XL.
Right. How much bigger
One, I
is
will
the
say,
XL?
uh, I think the old large was 15% bigger, and I think this one's actually 12% bigger than the standard.
Okay.
So it's slightly smaller than the old large. I will say one of the problems we had with the original button was a lot of people bought a large, not really knowing that, oh, like the medium is like the standard, the most
Mhm.
use, and the medium fits most people. The vast majority of people, the medium fits perfect. And so we saw a lot of people going like, oh, this large is too big. Like I actually needed the medium. And
Mhm.
so we thought that calling it like the standard size and then calling the large XL will kind of help oh,
Differentiate.
I need the standard.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you shoot a medium? I assume.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the medium. Yeah.
Yeah. I would
The
have. Most people would probably have to have like bricklayer hands, right, to get into a large or an extra
yeah.
large.
Well,
Guys with
Chris
some
is funny.
real catcher's mitts.
Chris has some serious hands, and Chris he's been like between the standard and the
Mhm.
large these days. He's like, I use some of the large, I use some of the medium, but yeah, I mean, there are some people out there with some pretty hefty fingers. They need the XL.
For sure.
Fingers that look anything like this,
Yeah.
you need the standard.
Yeah. Mine too. Office
Yeah,
hands, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah. No. No.
Yeah,
No fencers. Um,
yeah, yeah.
how do you set your button up? I was curious because that's a question that I get quite a bit. People want to know like how much
Ooh,
travel or tension do you shoot or do you like?
that's a
Um,
good question.
I've got this one that's just like right out of the box. I've made no adjustments to the tension or the travel. Out of the box, it feels like it doesn't have hardly any travel. Like it's pretty crispy,
Yeah.
and it definitely has more tension. Whereas this one I've got set up, it's pretty hot. Like this one,
Mm.
piping hot,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, which is kind of what I've been shooting. But I was curious as to what you like. What do you think?
So personally, I don't like any travel. I like to
Hmm.
back all the travel out so I can't feel any of that. So that all that I have to do is build pressure until it eventually just dumps and fires.
Hmm.
So what I'll do, the best way to do this, out of the box, it actually comes very close to how I would end up shooting a button. Maybe a little bit heavier on the trigger,
Yeah.
but out of the box is really how I would shoot it because we try to set it to be almost to zero no travel. If you want to like factory reset a button, the way to do that is start first with the force because the order, if you're going to be real picky about this, the order does kind of matter. So start with your force and back the force out until that set screw flushes like you have no force.
Yep.
So set it just sub flush from the housing, and that's the lightest force setting. Lock that down. And then go over to your travel. I wish I had the Allen key in here to do this, but you're gonna cock it and then take out travel until the release fires.
Mm-hmm.
And then back it off. And then I actually do this like I cycle it and work it into a small bout. So I'll take the travel out until it fires, back off, cock it, like make sure it sets, back it off again, and then I slowly and just a quarter turn back. And so that's how you set it at a light force with absolutely zero travel. Lock your travel down and then increase your force to your desired setting. And that's how you'll set it so there's just absolutely zero travel
Okay.
in the release. If you start with the travel and then move to force, like, you got to be very particular to notice the difference, but starting with your force low, backing it to a zero travel, and then adding force in is the best way to adjust it if you want zero travel and to work in your force setting exactly how you want.
Gotcha. How much force do you like? You like a little bit?
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's all personal preference. I
Sure.
say I'm a medium guy, but I hand my button to some guys and they go, dude, I can't get this thing off because they're hot rods and they're just
Yeah.
like you breathe on that thing wrong and it's going to
Yeah.
go off.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to that. Kyle Douglas, funny enough, I heard a story, you're talking about Kyle earlier. I heard a story that he draws back with his release pushing on the bar the opposite way because if he would have hit his wall, the inertia of the mechanism in itself would set, so it's so light that if you just tap it, it goes off.
So he's pushing the back of the barrel and to
So
keep that thing
he
from going
he
off.
biased the back of the barrel so when he hits his wall, it doesn't go off, and then he comes around and then just barely taps it and it goes off.
Yeah.
Dude,
Man. Yeah, that's
talk
razor thin margin.
about riding the line.
Yeah, but he
Yeah.
does it. Man, Kyle's like so interesting to me. A guy that admittedly, like we had him on the podcast and he kind of walked through his journey. He's like, I've done the hinge, I've done all the back tension stuff. And he's like, I just eventually got to a point like where if I want to, hit dead middle, dead X, like I got to find some new means of doing it. And that's where he kind of switched over to like this command style shooting
Mhm.
where he's going to punch it. And,
Yeah.
to me it's so fascinating because I'm like, how do you do that mentally and how have you done it for so long? And he's like, I just
Yeah.
decided I was going to do it and that's what I was going to do. And I was just like, shit, you like
I don't know.
mental fortitude, man.
I know. That's a whole nother thing. I've never done the command shooting how a lot of the guys do it nowadays.
Hmm.
It very difficult to do actually well and right. But I don't know. There's a part of the Zen, there's part of the Zen in the art of archery for me. And the hinge, I'm a hinge guy actually through and through.
Hmm.
I'll break out a button if I want to spice it up and have some fun.
Yep.
But I'm a hinge guy, and that's how I shoot. That's how I've always shot the best. And I've never had the cojones enough to jump over that deep end and start command shooting.
Yeah. I mean, I started with an index finger and then got target panic so bad that I had to just
Yeah.
switch to a hinge and just shoot it in my basement to eventually like get over to a point where I was like, okay, I'm not going to quit bow hunting.
Those intrusive thoughts that you get,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
they come in a lot more if you have a button and you realize, oh wait, I can just hammer this thing.
Bro,
Boom.
they come back so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Especially after a couple shots that didn't go your way and you're pissed and you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna hammer it in there.
yeah, they come back quick.
Yeah.
I was telling Craig the other day. So I've actually been shooting the button, so the button 2, way more than I would have thought, to be honest, because I'm a hinge guy too, and I think I've shot.
See, we're weird like that, Trail. I'm telling you, we're
Yeah,
cut from the same cloth. There's something wrong with us.
yeah, and I've shot a hinge. I think one because it's mentally it's just kind of where I need to be, and I think I've made some of my best shots, at least in hunting situations, due largely, I would say, to having worked with a hinge and then got really comfortable with it. But then recently, I mean, when you guys started working on this and I got a chance to shoot it, I, obviously wanted to give it due diligence, and I've been shooting it a lot more. And I actually hunted with it this year. I killed an elk in
Mm,
Arizona with it.
hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it worked great. But I was telling Craig, there's some bows where I can shoot a button and I can shoot it pretty well, and it's just got to be a product of like how that thing is set up.
Huh.
And there's some that like I gravitate more with a hinge, which is some mental fuckery.
That's
Probably.
interesting. Yeah. I would love to like
Yeah,
look
dive
at
into
both
it.
those bows and see how you're shooting them and see maybe what's there.
Yeah.
Different
Um,
bows, like different models of the same type of brand, or like a completely different setup, like a PSE versus Hoyt versus Matthews. Like,
same brand, so both Matthews bows, but like like an Arc 34, like this new Arc 34 that I've got that I hunted with. I can shoot it really well with a button. So the button too.
mm,
I feel like I can get into the release. I can relax into it. I can pull and shoot it similar to a hinge, and I get a nice clean break. What's interesting is since I've been shooting this a lot more, my shot timing has been way better
mm.
with that bow, and it's worked great. But like the Lift X, or like my target bow, like this Title 38, I shoot the hinge and I just shoot it way more comfortably. So there's something going on
There is
between
something there.
yeah
Well, you
between
talk
the
about
bows.
shot timing. Do you use a click on your hinge?
I don't.
No? Interesting. Like that was one thing I was curious. Like if you maybe had a click in your hinge, maybe that's one of the variables.
Do
That's
you shoot a
interesting.
click? Do you shoot a click in your hinge?
Yeah, I'm a pretty heavy click user. Funny, I've been, if I could start shooting again, I've been thinking about actually trying to go to a no click, see how that goes.
Yeah,
But I've always, I doubt that will stick for me. I've always shot a click.
yeah. I've got releases with clicks, and I've shot them. I have a buddy that's a proponent of a click, and he loves it. But to me, it's like, and you brought up earlier, you brought up Joel, and this was kind of a question I've been kicking around because I know Joel, he kind of preaches like a real conscious shot. At least
Yeah.
you're consciously controlled through that whole process, and you make the step of aiming, you aim, and then you walk through that door, and then you're working your release, right? You're telling yourself to work through your release. Um, to me, I felt like in the past, the best I've ever shot is where I felt like this back half turned into almost a subconscious process, right?
Mm,
And I felt like a click for me is like a reminder. It like clicks my head back into a more conscious thought process.
mhm.
And I feel like it's been just doesn't work for me, if I'm completely honest.
So yeah, I understand. It's funny because early on in the 30X series, I posted well, actually, Ultraview posted a clip of me from this series talking about how when I was shooting my best, it was just a subconscious flow, and like I just wasn't there, and I had more to it that didn't make the cut. And of course, like somebody tagged Joel shot IQ, and he's like,
Sure.
"Yeah, subconscious is not the place you want." I'm like, like that's not what I was trying to say. That's just what it sounded like on the internet. Um, I have always found, I think I understand what you're saying. And I have always found that and it's hard for me to describe this. I've tried to say this several times and I can never get it right.
Mm-hmm.
When I was shooting my best, I was conscious in the sense that, like, I knew when I wanted the system to either go off or not go off.
Mm-hmm.
And but there was also a subconscious level to it, which I think just comes through heavy repetition and just being
Mm-hmm.
so comfortable. If you watch any like high level anybody, sports player, piano, like musician, anybody, they're just so natural. They look so comfortable doing what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing. And I think there's a level of subconscious in that, but there was a level of awareness where I could watch the pin float real nice and slow. And I would just be like, all right, time to go off now. Boom. And it would go off. Or it would be like settling down. I'm like, no, not quite yet. It's still not. Oh, there it is. And yeah, it went off. Like I
Yeah.
can consciously control it going off now.
Gotcha.
And that was when I was doing my best, but it's definitely a weird blend
Mm-hmm.
of, archery is the sport of man before time began, and we wouldn't
Yeah.
probably still be doing this if it was, not a difficult thing to figure out. I don't think we'll ever be able to figure it out for real.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, and that's why it's a martial art, dude. It's an art. It's an
Yeah.
art form. It really is.
Yeah, I was talking to some guys last night, and yeah, you're kind of walking this edge between conscious and flow, and command and not command, and you're trying to like
Yeah.
thought and focus. There's like your focus on the target and your aim versus your focus on your execution and your release hand, and you're kind of like trying to walk this edge between the getting it to work in perfect harmony, which is kind of a mind f, but it's the fun in it too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people like will find their best progress if they just shoot a lot and they're able
Hmm.
to get over work. I say get over work through those frustrations
Hmm.
constructively. But I think the big thing is shooting so much that you are just so comfortable in what you're doing. That's only when you can really get to that level,
Yeah. Do you do a lot of blank bell?
dude. My entire career has been built on blank bell
Really?
because I couldn't. So at home, I'm from Vermont originally,
Hmm.
and during indoor season, the closest range was like 30 minutes away. And for a lot of time as a kid, like I couldn't drive, so I had to like solicit my grandma or one of my parents or somebody to come bring me, drop me off. My dad had a woodworking shop,
Hmm.
no bigger than a small garage. I got 8 yards if I was lucky. It was like 6 or 7 yards. And I blank bailed like crazy just to shoot my bow. Because
Yep.
otherwise my option was doing nothing. And
Yep.
so what I would do is I would blank bail all week. I would blast music. I'd sometimes put like a target up. So I had like actually I kind of stopped using targets and just like drew dots on with Sharpies. So I had something to track
Yep.
my dot flow. And I would just blank bail for hours and hours and hours. And then once, maybe twice a week, I'd end up in the range and shoot scores. And that's probably why, I ended up being able to shoot pretty good, is because most of my practice was at blank bail and not with a target trying to freak me out.
Sure. Did you when you were doing a lot of that, were you working independently on specific aspects of your shot, or were you just shooting arrows? Do you feel like?
I was a kid, to call it what it was. And so
Yeah,
a lot of it was just like
shooting.
mindlessly shooting arrows. To be honest, some of it was tinkering, which I still love to do. I
Hmm.
realized I like one of the reasons why I like this sport is because there is so much tinkering involved. And I've had to find the balance nowadays to go, look, Colby, like don't tinker. Like you just got to shoot your damn bow.
Yeah.
Don't mess with it today. Just shoot it. And so a lot of it was tinkering, when you're trying a lot of first things for the first time, button, hinge, tension, this type of button, that type of button. You work, go through it and you like it for a week and then you don't like it. And then you end up liking it again a year later. A
Hmm.
lot of it was just that enjoying participating and tinkering in the archery sport. Nowadays, if I do it, I'm intentionally working on something. And even if my only goal is to get arrows in and I want to like get arrow volume up to build stamina and strength, I'm aware of that. And I may do things like add more weight to my stabilizers while blank bailing just to build up the stamina, but then take them off and go back down to my normal stabilizer weight. And so like, I'm trying to get the most out of that time that I can.
Yeah.
And it was funny on the 30X series, I hung a bag target. It's a hilarious little clip. I hung a bag target in like an armoire, and
Yeah.
everybody was like, "Why do you call it your wife's guest room?" And I'm like, my point of saying I'm blank mailing in my wife's guest room is because like there's rooms in the house that are like, this is your room,
Hmm.
this is my room,
My
and it's
room.
like I get the garage and
Yep.
and I get the armoire in our guest room.
I know
and I
that's
and I hung it there, and I would do the same thing, dude, on a Saturday or Sunday. Like I can't shoot distance at my house, and I'm not going to drive 30-45 minutes into work on Saturday, and so I just blank bailed
yeah.
in my wife's guest room, and
Well,
got my arrow count up.
yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, I asked Paige just like random rapid question, blank bell or distance shooting for your average bow hunter. And I agree with her point. She said distance shooting based on the fact that, a lot of blank belling, people are trying to eliminate a target panic, right? And if the thing that gives you target panic is your target, then it doesn't make a lot of sense to,
Right.
learn without being able to aim at a target. And I agree with her in that regard. The one thing I do think, and at least I notice for me, is like if I go to my local range and we've got field courses, I'm not very, I don't have the ability to focus and like work on one thing because I'm shooting arrows at different distances, and I'm not very good at being intentional about working on one thing, like my follow through or my grip pressure or,
Mm.
my release hand. Whereas if I'm shooting at a blank bell at home at 5 feet or whatever, I'm a lot more intentional about working on one thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think
It's
blank belling has a
it's
place for sure.
and there's only like some things like follow through or like getting to full draw and relaxing your
Hmm.
shoulders before you kind of like physical things like that you can work on really well at blank bell. But I would actually say that there's a lot more that you should work on with a target reference in front of you as well because you want the feedback.
Hmm.
Similar to what I was saying, like if you shoot with no weight and you see, oh, my hand's tense and that's why it's so shaky, relax your hand.
Yep.
You'll get that feedback. For me, I've I've always had to have blank bale be a proponent, like if I'm trying to shoot well,
Hmm.
because it fills a time where otherwise I would not be able to shoot.
Right.
And there's been so through my life, there's been so even in college, dude. I had I'm not put on the internet now, but I had a bag target in my college dorm room, and I'd throw it on my bed, and I would blank bail in my college dorm room, and my roommates would be like, are you able
Shooting
to
well.
do this? And I'm like, ask for forgiveness, not permission. Also, no one's going to know if you don't tell anybody.
Yeah. 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 No, I think blank spell's good. I think well, I mean, so much of archery, I feel like for me at least when I'm shooting well is feel. It's just how it feels, and then being able to replicate what a good shot feels like. And I
Yeah.
think I'm much more mindful of the way the shot feels when I'm shooting, at close distance, and whether I have a target or not. It's just, it's repetition and feel, and I think blank bell has a big part of that. At least it has been when I've shot well.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a mental barrier when you have a target in front of you because you then very quickly start getting careful,
sure. And it
because you don't want to miss.
and at distance, the
And
more careful you get.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so when you're at blank bail, you don't have that. And so it's interesting because you're able to like freely shoot and like you can make how when you make a good shot and it just like you get your follow through,
Oh,
it feels great, sounds good. You're just
well,
you're
that's
just
what I live for.
pounding.
That's what I live
Yeah.
for. It's the best
You
feeling in the
can
world.
yeah. You can do that at blank bail
Hmm.
repeatedly and practice that feeling.
Yep.
Well, then throw a target in, and then it starts. Oh my gosh! Like it's all that much. It's so much more difficult and rare to find that perfect just shot.
Hmm.
And it's like think of the analogy I use with that like mindset is think of how easy it would be to throw a 2x4 on the floor right now and just walk across it like nothing for 10 feet. You could probably walk 20 feet on a 2x4, inch and a half off the ground, and not fall off it at all.
Hmm.
Well, now put it 100 feet in the air, and
Yeah.
you're going to be shitting brick trying to walk a 2x4. But they're in theory, there's no difference between
Yep.
them, right? Other than if you fall off that one, you die. So,
Yeah. Mindset.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's
Wow.
why I think there's freaks of nature in this world, not just in archery, but in any sport that like they have some light switch turn, like especially the guys that do the extreme like
Hmm.
Red Bull stuff that just doesn't
Yeah.
compute with my brain. Like they just don't have that connection in their brain that normal people have, and they just are able to just go.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I was thinking about when I talked to Paige, one of the questions I had, and I don't know if I got a chance to like flesh it out and ask her, but it was train for so like build your equipment essentially for pressure situations, or train out the anxiety by doing the thing over and over repeatedly, right? And I think there's something to that because I know for me in a hunting situation, I still get buck fever, but I don't get it nearly as bad as I used to like 25
Mm.
years ago. And I think I've trained a lot of that out because I know what to expect, right? And I think it's probably very similar for somebody that's looking to get into competitive archery or does competitive archery. I would think that the more often you do that and you put yourself in those high pressure situations, I think that probably lessens. Like that anxiety probably
Yeah,
decreases quite a bit.
definitely. One of the things George always recommended that I do, to have one of my best seasons was to like go to all of the small local shoots that you can find,
Mm-hmm.
because you'll notice that like the nerves in your body and just how your body reacts to the pressure, let's
Right.
call it, is very similar if it's at a small local shoot with like 12 people, or if it's at like a huge tournament with 1,000 people. It's very similar feeling. And if you can get more used to that, like, and accustomed to it, it really helps you. And so, if that's why you see a lot of these top pros, and I've I've been in this, I'm a young guy, but I've been in this for a while now. I can see people like, I'm like, oh, they're going to go for a rip, because I can see they start going to all of the events, and it
Mm-hmm.
takes a year or two. Really takes a year or two of shooting all the time and going to all of the events, big and small. And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, you won like 6 of the 10 majors this year and you're on top of the world, and you came out of nowhere and like you're the next shining star. It's like, well, no, like this kid has been working his ass off for
Right.
3, 4 years straight. And even before that, he hit the circuits. He was shooting lights out. And so like I can see that, because I tried to do it once. I spent 2 or 3 years where I went to every shoot, and before I went to the big shoots, I went to every local small shoot, and just to build up, get used to it on top
Mm-hmm.
of shooting a lot at home to like practice it out of you. That's how the top pros do it, is
Yeah.
because they go to all those and they practice it out. And it's the same for you, because you've been doing this now. How many seasons do you have under your belt, right? Like how many times have you pulled up at full draw on an animal? Like you're
Yeah.
so seasoned to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still get that rush, but it's definitely way more manageable than it once was, you know?
Do you find it like you're chasing, like, are you chasing certain like
Um,
hunts from the past?
no, I mean, what I'm chasing is just the feeling. And I mean, I kind of noted a little bit earlier. It's the reason like I really like archery is the feeling of a real comfy full draw anchor point, pins just sitting real nice, shot break so smooth. You see the veins rotating through the
Yeah,
arrow. Like you get that
yeah,
clear
yeah,
vision, that clear picture, and you watch the arrow hit middle. Your follow through's perfect. That feeling is just so satisfying. And it's not the funny thing about archery is like if I get that feeling, I'm like an addict, like a heroin addict. Like I want it again. Like I want that
yeah,
feeling again.
yeah,
I
yeah,
want it to feel like that. And I think for hunting, at least with me, that's kind of become and I've talked about it. Like I've killed some animals recently, even where the shot broke and I killed the animal, but the shot didn't break the way that I wanted it to break. And I feel differently about that experience
mm,
than I do where
yeah,
one just sits and it breaks. That's the feeling I'm chasing in
yeah,
hunting. Is like
yeah, yeah,
I want to, I want to make the stock. I want to make the approach. I want to get there. I want to come to full draw, and I want that experience of a perfectly placed arrow that breaks clean. And then I get the
yeah,
full experience.
yeah,
I get the stock, I get, the animal, I get the meat, the trophy, the antlers or whatever they might be, but then I also get this personal satisfaction of like, man, I kept my shit together under pressure
yeah.
and I broke a clean arrow.
Gosh.
Yeah. That's what I'm chasing. That's what does it for me. That sense of satisfaction.
Yeah, I remember some of the I'm not like a bow hunter like you, Chris and Craig. That's my forte was shooting paper back in the day.
Sure.
And I remember in a similar sense, uh, like shooting like a perfect score in competition.
Hmm.
Like you build up, it's so easy to get build up and get caught up in the moment and not get out of it, and then just like it, like lose it and you drop it and you can't do it. And I remember, the first time I shot, it was a perfect score at indoor nationals, 20, I don't know, 14, 15. Like I
Hmm.
can remember, it's very similar to what you just described. Like you start it's, it was a long game. I think it's like a 60 arrow game or something like that. And you're shooting and you want to have perfect. And as you get closer to like the end, it's just like, it's getting more chaotic. Like you're trying to calm yourself
Mhm.
down. You're trying to like stay in the moment, stay focused. And then you don't want your last end or your last arrow to just be like, oh, I blacked out and I happened to like,
Yeah.
oh, I happened to do it, but I
Yeah.
blacked out. And you want to know that you were capable and you did it. And so like to just have like that perfect shot, it's like
Yeah.
that's the, that's what everybody's chasing for right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And I mean, I've killed animals. They're, in my freezer where the animal's dead, and I got the grip and grin. I got the whole thing. But if I look back on that, I feel differently, and it kind of sucks to say because I don't want it to like bastardize the the memory and the life that I took of that animal. But I feel differently about those arrows because I know that I didn't release the best arrow. Like it still hit where it was supposed to
Right.
go, but I know I wasn't in that flow. Like I wasn't in that
Right.
Zen state.
Yeah,
And
because you want it to be the best that you can get it. I mean, you
yeah,
want that perfect in precision, right? Like,
yeah,
and I think that's one of the things, like that moment and accuracy and being like that's one of the things that we keep in mind. Everybody here understands what we're talking about, like a very deep level,
hmm,
and we try to bake that into our products, right?
yep,
And so everything we do is intentional and how it's designed to help you in specifically those moments, because you don't like putting your hand in the release the same every time, putting your hand in the
hmm,
grip the same every time, like how the mechanism actually actuate, like all those things, your particularly your sight, particularly if you're using a sliding sight at long range, like
hmm,
there's a lot that can go on. And so we try to eliminate all of the crap that you
yep,
don't need, simplified delete, so that it is a more pure, it is a more like perfect, like opportunity for someone to be able to execute and get done what they need to get done. And it's already, we were talking about this the other day. It's, you got to give a lot of credit to archery manufacturers because it's
hmm,
already very difficult to make archery equipment. Like
hmm,
it's very difficult to make a sight. It's very difficult to make a good release. It's not easy to design a product that works good and has to meet all of the requirements and things a site needs to do. It's not easy. And that's why a lot of the times you see like there's so many trade-offs that need to be made in the design. And that's why we ended up like not really loving any of the
hmm,
options that we were having to bolt our sights to, or our scopes to, when we just made scopes.
right,
And so, to go through and not only just design in everything you need from a feature standpoint, try to add new cool things that you want, right?
hmm,
But then to also like simplify that design so there's nothing extra. It works for you and not against you. That's another whole level of the game where I think you really have to understand like what we were just talking about
yeah,
with shooting that perfect shot, trying to get what you go for. Otherwise, it's like, how do you, if you don't understand the purest form of what you're trying to go for, how can you possibly try to make something to help somebody get there?
yeah,
You know?
exactly,
And I think that's the extra like secret sauce that's
yeah,
baked into a lot of the things that we make here that, you know, I'm
yeah.
thankful that people like you certainly can realize and tell the difference and appreciate it. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's the secret sauce in any product, and those are typically those are my favorite brands. Those are my favorite products. It's like where I understand because of the product. These are individuals that get it at the same, at the level that I feel like I get it, or at least I want to get it. So
yeah,
yeah, commendable for what you guys are doing, and I think it's cool that you've got things in house and you've got your CM machine, you got them cranking out there.
they're cranking. They're
Yeah,
cranking. I
that
walk by the long way to make sure they're running every day now.
that's hilarious. Anything else you guys are working on? You want to let the cat out of the bags, or anything new and cool you
I'll
got in the
just spill
button?
all the beans at once.
Just spill it. Let's have it.
I don't know. We're working on a lot here.
Yeah.
We're working on a lot of. I discussed a lot of what I would call our processes and our theory of how we do things here.
Hmm.
They're working very hard on bringing in a lot more machinery. By this time next year, we have a goal to have 100% of our stuff made here, like here, like within our four walls, which
Yeah.
is huge. And so stay tuned to Ultraview's channels. I know Craig and the marketing crew have been very good at documenting and putting videos out on our YouTube channel
Hmm.
so that people can follow along. Like if you want to see, actually, half this episode was talking about the 30X series, which
Right.
was a series I did personally with this vlog stick that Ultraview just chopped up and put on their YouTube channel. So if you want a real behind the
They
scenes view,
are they paying you for that, Colby?
I should have monetized those.
You
I
should.
should have charged them. Yeah. That's a very peeled back curtain behind the scenes of like my life and my shooting life here. Uh, Craig Carson and the guys have also done a fantastic job of, we're calling it a Road to USA series, where you can track our progress of bringing in these CNC machines from day one all the
Cool.
way up to button launch. And we continue to kind of come out with content like that. And so they're doing a fantastic job there. So if any of this was interesting, I'd encourage anybody to go check out those videos because they're pretty cool to see.
Yeah, very very cool.
And yeah, so
Yeah,
that's what we got going on. Of
right on.
course, we're working on new stuff. Of
I
course, we
know.
have new stuff on the
And
way.
I'm sure you hate that
Um,
question. As I asked it, I
yeah,
was like, "What a prick! Why did I ask that?"
nah, nah. You may or may not have them as one of our product testers. You may or may not have the stuff that we're working on right now. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I may or may not have, used it quite a bit. So
yeah. So we'll get there.
yeah,
We'll
we'll
get
we'll
there.
get there. I appreciate you
Yeah.
jumping on today. Always fun. I feel bad that I took a minute, an hour and 40 minutes of your
No,
time.
dude, I love this. This
You're
is
probably
great.
busy.
It's like this is we only chat. Like, I should just call each other.
I know.
It's like, hey, Trey, how's your autism doing today? You doing good today? We
It's
just talk it out.
extra high today.
Yeah, because mine's just kicking me in the ass today.
Just kicking
So
in. Yeah, no,
no, it's good. I always
appreciate it.
loved. Yeah,
Buy a button too. Um,
buy a button two.
yeah, if
Buy
you're
two
out there,
button twos.
yeah, if you like the original, I think you'll love the new version just as much. I know that for me, I like the original button. I like the button two better, if I'm being honest. So,
One of the hot topics right now is, is the two worth the upgrade? And
hmm
of course, I'm going to say yes. But as a shooter, having shot both of them, if you care at all, if you're a type of person that bought a button one,
hmm
you are of course going to have a difference and see an appreciable improvement to the button two. So, I mean, if you bought a button one, I know for a fact that you'll love button two.
yeah, and this is my honest review. I liked button one. I like button two better. I,
Well, you're using it now. I mean, you're a hinge guy,
yeah,
man. So that
exactly.
has a lot of weight in it right there. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that should
Yeah.
I guess tell you everything you need to know about how I feel about it. So, we should have them. I think probably. I hope maybe getting into the gear shop at some point.
Soon.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Within the next couple weeks for sure.
yeah. I've definitely had people asking me like, when can I pick one up in the shop? So I'm hoping those are coming quick. Yeah. So I appreciate it. I'll cut you loose. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
I will.
Um,
I'll go check in on the machines for you.
that's it. Yeah. I'll hopefully see you in Vegas then. Sounds like.
Oh, yes. Are you going to be in Vegas?
Yeah. I'll be there, man.
Sweet. Here, a little Easter egg at the end. We don't have time to really talk about it, but
Okay.
I had Craig bring this in for me to talk about it, and I never talked
Oh.
about it. It's the new thumb pad.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have
Yeah.
you actually felt this yet?
Nope, never. Haven't
I'll have
tried
to
it.
get one out to you. It has kind of taken off. People seem to really love the idea of this. I mean, we did too. I like it, but
Hmm.
it just slims up your release more,
Yep.
so you can put it in pockets better. I like it. Uh, it's really as simple as that. It grabs your thumb a different way. People like different things. That's another thing that's new that I completely forgot to touch on. But there you go, thumb pad. Got
Yeah,
that in.
I remember seeing George shoot with it, right? At
Yeah.
some point.
And he was always so happy that he could say, "Oh, you can't get this,"
Yeah.
because George has had one for years, and he's like, "No, where can I get that? Oh no, you can't get it. This is not for sale."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I'm looking forward to trying it. I like I
yeah.
said, I like the proto, man. I like
Huh?
this one.
Maybe the thumb pad will be better than the Proto.
It might be. You know what I've considered, man. I keep you on the podcast, but I considered taking a file because I like sharpening up these edges. So like these little grooves, right here on the
Mm.
outer edge. I've
You know
half
what you need,
considered
Trail?
taking a file to them and like really putting a sharp edge so they give me some bite.
I think you need to get yourself a 3D printer, learn how to CAD, and make your own line of trail 3D printed knobs.
That's not going to happen, Colby, because
You could.
I don't care that much. I don't think I want.
I don't. You're definitely no. That's some bullshit. You're definitely the guy that cares enough. And if you knew how to go from CAD to print to knob, you'd have a dozen of them already.
All right, fair enough.
Guarantee it.
I might.
I'll be your first customer.
All right, fair enough. Okay, man. Well, I'm going to cut you loose. I'll say goodbye. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate it too, man. We'll see you later.